So, hey, it's Beata
And Sarah.
from BA English Coaching and and welcome to our lesson about Queen Elizabeth II. If you haven't watched part 1, where we talked about her extraordinary childhood, please watch it because that gives you the foundation and you will learn more about her childhood and her family tree and her family history. Then the second part was about her wedding.
Yep.
To Prince Philip. There is a separate video just about Prince Philip.
Yes.
And today we are talking about her glorious coronation.
Yes.
I am sure you have heard this strange, maybe, phrase, "The king is dead, long live the king." And so why do people say it? Or what do you know about this, Sarah?
Immediately on the death of a king or queen, it has to be announced. And it is announced by saying the king is dead, long live the king, meaning that instantaneously, at that moment, the next in line is automatically the next king. So there is no gap where there is no monarch in charge of the country.
If I say the king is dead,
Yeah.
at the same time we are mourning the dead king,
Yeah.
but
We are looking forward to the new one. Yay!
Yes.
It does seem a bit hard, doesn't it? Yes. No.
but now we know why. So basically there is this immediate continuity.
Yes.
Okay, so there is it indicates that there is never a time without a king or a queen.
Yeah, it's important, particularly way back, to have a king or a queen, a monarch in charge.
But when was the phrase last used in England?
Would have been used, the king is dead, long live the king, was last properly used in the United Kingdom in January 1936, when King George V was succeeded by his son, King Edward VIII.
And if you watched the first video about Queen Elizabeth's childhood, that's where we talked about what happened to
King Edward VIII was crowned, I think, but he was only king for a very short time because he abdicated in order to marry a divorcee, which in those days was not allowed. So when he abdicated, our queen became very unexpectedly the queen. She was not expecting it to happen. No, wait a moment. No, edit that.
Yeah,
he abdicated, his brother took over, who was King George VI.
Yes, and that was Queen Elizabeth II's father.
So when he died, they said, the king is dead, long live the queen.
Yes, and that was the last properly used because the queen has been on the throne for 70 years. And that's why we are doing this video. So as we said, 2000 and 2020 is the year of the Platinum Jubilee.
2022.
What did I say?
2020.
I am always, the last time I said 2021.
20.
Oh,
this is not going well today.
And so this year marks the 2022. We are celebrating
the Platinum Jubilee celebration of the Queen's reign, which is now 70 years this year, 2022.
Yes. And she is the longest reigning monarch.
Yeah.
Sarah is going to read a text. You can always listen and pause the video and then read with her. You can practice your pronunciation, expression, intonation, speed, and rhythm. After, we are going to discuss this text in more detail, and Sarah is going to offer her personal comments and her personal opinion about this event.
Coronation is a ceremony marking the formal crowning of a monarch. Britain's longest-serving monarch celebrates her Platinum Jubilee this year, 2022, marking 70 years on the throne. The 95-year-old Queen is the longest reigning monarch in British history. The previous record holder, Queen Victoria, had been monarch for nearly 64 years. In 1937, the 11-year-old Princess Elizabeth had watched her father, King George VI, crowned in elaborate ceremony. But she was in Kenya at the time of his death, and became the first sovereign in over 200 years to accede while abroad. The Queen succeeded to the throne at the age of 25 on the 6th of February 1952. Queen Elizabeth II was crowned on the 2nd of June 1953 in Westminster Abbey. The coronation was held more than 1 year later because of the tradition of allowing an appropriate length of time to pass after a monarch dies before holding such festivals. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh were driven from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey in the Gold State coach, pulled by 8 grey horses, and their names apparently were Cunningham, Tovey, Noah, Tedder, Eisenhower, Snow White, Tipperary, and McCreary. The coronation bouquet was made up of flowers representing all the countries of Great Britain. The St. Edward's crown, made in 1661, was placed on the head of the Queen during the coronation service. It is the most important and sacred of all the crowns, and is only used at the moment of crowning itself. It is made of solid gold and can be seen in the Tower of London. Mm-hmm. The Queen was crowned in St. Edward's chair, made in 1300 for Edward I, and used at every coronation since that time. It is permanently kept in Westminster Abbey. Coronations have been held at Westminster Abbey since 1066, when William the Conqueror invaded England and became King William I. BBC coverage of the coronation was a breakthrough for the history of broadcasting, and with some people it was not a popular idea. It was the first ever coronation to be televised, and for most people it was the first time they had watched an event like that on television. 27 million people in the UK watched the ceremony on television, and 11 million listened on the radio. In more than 7 decades of rule, Queen Elizabeth II's popularity has hardly fallen. She has travelled more extensively than any other British monarch. She is the patron of more than 600 charities and charitable organisations. As head of the Church of England, she is a woman of deep personal faith and a regular churchgoer. But as times have changed, she is happy to recognise and support other faiths in a changing, multicultural Britain.
Now we know a bit more about the coronation and about some of the interesting, fascinating details. And as we said before, Sarah is going to offer her personal outlook on this amazing and fascinating event in the British history. So as we have said, Queen Elizabeth II is the longest reigning monarch in the British history. When she found out about the death of her father, George VI, she was in Kenya, so she was on holiday with her husband, and they came back straight away.
Yeah.
But she wasn't crowned until the following year.
Yeah.
And we now know why it happened, because of the time.
Yeah, of the time of official mourning after the death of a monarch, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The horses' names. that was such a sweet bit about the coronation, and Sarah liked that bit as well. And as you said, the coach was so heavy.
Yeah, really, really, really heavy. You can see it if you go to, I think it could be Windsor Castle. You can see the coaches.
Oh wow!
Some of them. And that one is just extraordinary. It's really fairy tale. And
the bouquet, as we said, was symbolic. That's a lovely gesture. And then the crown. That's interesting. So there are more crowns. The Queen has more crowns.
Yeah, when you hear about the crown jewels at the Tower of London, and in theory you're looking at all the different crowns that the Queen owns, and sometimes on formal occasions she lends them to other women in the family, and they wear this.
Yes.
Because someone's got to wear them.
Yeah, but this St. Edward's crown
is massive.
Yeah. And it's made out of gold. And as you said, all these crowns and jewels and robes, they are kept at the Tower of London.
Yes.
But we are going to do a separate video about the Tower of London as it's really interesting about the whole history and okay. You mentioned the year 1066.
Yes.
So what happened, and why was it the beginning of the
Of coronations in Westminster Abbey. I think I'm right in saying that up until then, Winchester, which is in Hampshire, was more like the capital of England. London wasn't the be all and end all then. It became that when William the Conqueror invaded the country, and he built the Tower of London as a defensive structure, and from then on London became the main city of the country. But up until then, Winchester, Canterbury too, and funny enough, under the Romans, Norwich. But London wasn't always the capital of London, of the country.
Of England.
Yeah.
You said this interesting fact about who was behind this idea.
The idea to broadcast the coronation was suggested by Prince Philip.
So Prince Philip is Queen Elizabeth's second
husband.
Yeah.
And he said, we've got to move with the times. We've got to show ourselves to be a progressive monarchy who are open to all people to know about us and stop being, so private and so on. And he put the idea forward. And of course, there was a lot of, what's the word?
Opposition.
Thank you. From the Archbishop, I think, at the time. And a lot of people in the country thought it was violating the sacredness of the whole thing. And of course, cameras in the sacred space of the Abbey was considered wrong. But anyway, it all went ahead and it went beautifully. At the actual moment when she is crowned with the holy oil, I think was hidden by, I don't know how quite, but that wasn't actually broadcast, but everything else was.
Wow. And she is the patron of more than 600 charities or charitable organizations. She has probably a lot of other titles than just the Queen of Great Britain.
Yes.
And she is the head of the Church of England. And there is an interesting history behind this because it all started with Henry VIII.
Yeah, the Reformation, when we broke off from the Catholic Church.
Yeah, hopefully you have learned something more about this phenomenal and inspirational queen, woman, and she has been the leader of the church and of the country for 70 years now. It's not easy to be the queen, it's not easy to be the king, it's not easy to be a leader, but she said a very interesting thing about how to be a leader.
I think she was probably asked one day what she attributed her success to, and she said, I know of no single formula for success, but over the years I have observed that some attributes of leadership are universal and are often about finding ways of encouraging people to combine their efforts, their talents, their insights, their enthusiasm, and their inspiration to work together.
You may never meet a queen. You may never meet a king, or you may never speak to a queen or to a king. It's interesting to know about them, to be inspired, because I think there is always a very inspiring, motivational story behind their story.
Yeah.
But I have found this absolutely amazing quote, and this is what we would like to leave you with. In every woman, there is a queen. Speak to the queen, and the queen will answer. And I really love this. So just think,
is in every man a king?
Yes, that's a good question, I think. But this is the same thing. In every man, there is a king.
Yeah.
Speak to the king, and the king will answer. So to all the queens and kings, we hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. And as always, don't be the same, be awesome. And maybe, just maybe, try to see the queen or the king in yourself. Bye. Thank you.